figure out how to hello, trying to figure hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Abby Hagyard. This is my emotional support sheep, Vince. Vince is short for invincible. Do we love him? He's completely uh, verklempt. And I think that the reason when I fell in love with him, the reason the reason that I felt Vince needed to be a part of my landscape, and of course, sheep also birthday month, is that we all need some sort of emotional support. We just don't know where to get it. And the theme today for the video, which I will explain to you in a second, is do we even know why we're doing what we're doing? And I think most of us are just trying to get by, trying to go along to get along. However, it doesn't always pan out, and that's why I want to talk about it. So anyway, Vince, do you mind? I had went out to dinner last night. I had 6 people say, okay, seriously, I need one. And 3 of the 6 were men. Just saying. Isn't he adorable? He's utterly useless. One of the guys said, what's in it? And I said, sheep. And he said, no. Is it a purse? What is it? I said, oh, it's full of, stuff. And his little feet are all floppy and stupid. Very small tail. Very small tail at the back. Anyway, Vince, we have work to do. So had I been worried at all about my credibility in the wake of doing Mom on You Can't Do That on television, I would never have shown anybody Vince. However, our worry about credibility is long since passed. I'm going to raise a cup filled with a warm morning beverage and say, so my name is Abby Hagyard. I said it before. And I fell sideways into show business in my 20s and ended up being a mom, which is not really part of my natural DNA. The guy delivering maternal instinct was sick that day or missed the bus or it went to the wrong mailbox and I never got it. However, in spite of that, I had 102 children over the course of 10 years and a bunch of other children that I taught and worked with and coached. A lot of taller children who haven't really grown out of their infancy. They're just masquerading as adults as well. So in the process of doing that for a living and carving new paths and finding ways to create outcomes that worked for me, I stumbled on an interesting fact about my ancestry, and that was that my ancestors were Vikings. And they weren't simply Scandinavian. Somebody doing the tree realized that my family left the same place in Norway as the Viking exodus took place from the same place at the same time. And I said, any chance we were just simple farmers? And he said, no. And so there's a quality in the Viking temperament. One of them is unhelpful. We always want to be somewhere we're not. If it's winter, we want to be on the ocean. When we're on the ocean, we want to be home. We're spontaneous as opposed to impulsive in that we think very quickly on our feet and respond even more quickly. And that looks impulsive. Most of us aren't impulsive. We're stubborn a little bit. And we're very creative in the ways that we tell stories. We find all these very interesting platforms to use to tell stories. I mean, I'm here with you doing video. I'm on 5 different platforms simultaneously, thanks to something called Restream. And it is giving me an opportunity to reach audiences that I normally would never, ever have the time nor the tools to tap and say, how you doing? So when I hit on this idea of where I wanted to take my career in this chapter, I realized that what I wanted to do was I wanted to combine my ability to storytell, combine my ability to shift and shape out of different characters and scenarios and use humor as the fuel. I realized that what I was really doing was actually quite a well-established science. And that is that dopamine, which is the ha-ha feel good after the joy moment of any kind, laughter is one of the big ones, is that dopamine erases cortisol. It cancels it out. And I mean, it completely cancels it out. if you're in a cortisol attack and you're full on, rage stage, dopamine just gone, and you have to work yourself back up to get to that previous level of stress toxicity. And the unfortunate thing about cortisol and the stress is the adrenaline rush is highly addictive. It's like like the reason we eat salty and sweet stuff during when we're watching competitive games is it fuels our competitive spirit. Dopamine doesn't make us lazy. It makes us enjoy the moment. It's like dopamine versus cortisol. Dopamine is like cheering for our team. Cortisol is like yelling at the other team. Yelling at the other team does nothing for anybody except that there's a rush. Cheering for our team, there is also a rush. It's also our team, and the team hears us. And that's a triple win. That's what they call a hat trick in hockey. And it's so trifecta in horse racing. It's so healthy and so great and so productive that why wouldn't we look for tools and techniques and and bar props like Vince to trigger it in people spontaneously? And I've done that my whole life because of the way I was raised and how much of a challenge it was to keep finding your new house, fitting in with the new crowd, and coming home and finding boxes and realizing we have to move again. And so if I can find the joy, I heard somebody once say this remarkable sentence, and I said, do you mind if I take that and own it? And they said, run with it like the wind. And the sentence was this: if I wake up and I find myself up to here in manure, I guarantee you there's going to be a pony in here with me, and I'm going to find the pony. And I thought, find the pony. There's a rallying cry. And everybody in the know knows why I'm looking for the pony, because we're here. So on our subject today, what we're talking about is, do we know what we want? Do we even have the faintest idea what we want and why we want it? What the end game is? We're just looking for the quick fix. Okay, is that the end game, or is there an end game? And how don't we know that? What are we too busy doing? So I wanted to talk about that today because I'm seeing a lot of it. I'm seeing a lot of it, and it's getting really annoying. And I'm going to have to get more Vinces. I'm going to have to get a herd and say, here, hold that. And while they're going, what is this? I'll say, there. It's a sheep. And then I'll walk away. Does that work? Absolutely. Why? Because they're not yelling at me for being one of these or one of those. They're standing there looking at the sheep and they don't know what to do with it because it's not offensive. It's non sequitur. And that means they're not kvetching. That means we've deleted the momentum of yelling. And then everybody else can go, oh, that's better. Why didn't somebody else think of that? I didn't actually think of Vince. It came up on social media. And I said, good morning, Freddie. And I said, well, look at that. And then I looked at the price and I said, okay, that may be the silliest $20 I spend in a while. I have a feeling it's going to go to very good use. So I will be referring to Vince frequently, not merely in birthday month. The other thing I want to say, by the way, today is 10/4, right? It's the 10th of April, 10/4. 10/4, good buddy. 10/4 is code for received, understood. And what I'm hoping in these videos, what my intention, what my drive, what my purpose behind the purpose is that what I share and the underlying message is received and understood. That's the goal. That's what am I doing, right? So one more sip. My throat's a little sore. We were jumping up and down and laughing at each other yesterday. I got together with these people. We originally got together 24 years ago in 2001. My good pal Carol Hay and I were working on a project, and it was a new stage play. And it was a bit, I wasn't sure about it. I loved it, but I wasn't sure about it. And I said, I wish I could do a survey. And she said, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we just go, there's a bar we haven't tried. Why don't we go and have dinner, sit in the lounge and ask people? What a good idea. What a good idea. So we did. And among the people who came, there were these 4 fellows around our age. And we all discovered that they were regulars. And they said, you should come back. Don't bring the survey book. No. So we did. We came back a few times. And then it gradually became a thing. And every Wednesday we got together. And all 6 of us, it turned out, were kind of in between. We were out of relationships, not in relationships, not having much fun creating relationships, staying in relationships. And so we decided to form a club. And we called ourselves Delta, because Delta means change. And every week we would get together and sympathize with all our colossal failures. It was fabulous. And it took, I don't know, maybe 6 months, maybe. And other people would start coming over to the table saying, what's going on? And we would tell them. And they'd say, oh my God, can I join? And so I posted the other day the picture of our birthday picture in 2015, 10 years ago. So I haven't got the pictures up yet. Carol's busy, and so is Tammy. So but we were there again, and it was some of them were different. Some of them couldn't make it, but the core, the 6 of us, we were looking at each other saying, it's really stood the test of time. I went away, I would come back. Somebody had to travel, somebody got sick, and we have stayed together. We get together and we say, how's it going? And if they've had a setback, they tell us, and it's, I don't want to say cliche. It's not family. It's best friendly. If that makes any sense. They get me. I get them. We've been there. Somebody starts saying, so anyway, this, and then the rest of us look at them and say, you realize that's exactly like such and such. And they say, no. Oh, man. And so it's such a benign, great, happy group that it's worth the price of admission. And somebody who has recently joined, somebody who wants to be part of it, they occasionally, we're in the midst of teasing. This is the other thing. The teasing is crazy. It's wonderful. In the midst of teasing somebody, and I turned and looked at a woman and she said, you guys just love the hell out of each other. And I said, absolutely we do. Absolutely. We're like this, all 6 of us. And somebody brought a cake, and so it's Carol, Abby, Dwayne, and so somebody said, what did they say? Who's Larry, Abby, and Frayne? And I said, well, at least they got the important name right. See, so I'm fresh off that, and they all fell in love with Vince. They all want to know if they can have a Vince, and I said, I'm going to look into it, see if I can get a herd at herd discount prices. Good morning, Daniel. So the conversation today is about the end game. Why we're doing what we're doing. I had a really, really beautiful, long, important conversation the other night. And I said, I'm going to start using a benchmark, I think. I'm going to start using it as a checklist, like the driver's circle check, the pilot's circle check before you start the engines. I'm going to ask myself, if a thing feels amazing, can I see any potential collateral damage? And my dad was military, this guy's military. And the phrase collateral damage, I'm just writing it down because I had forgotten to do that. Collateral damage has a different meaning for somebody who's served, because they know what it is. They've seen it in real time. It has a different meaning. In theory and in practice, they are similar. Collateral damage can be just an off feeling, an attitude, bad timing, missed opportunity. And if only I had waited 10 minutes, or if only I had jumped 10 minutes earlier. The collateral damage of the bad timing is that it didn't work the way we thought it would. Collateral damage is another way of saying the Department of Unintended Outcomes, which I think is hysterical. I've started saying to people that I used to work there, but it was exhausting emotionally. So here we go. Hello, by the way, shout outs to my amazing new LinkedIn connections who are watching these videos now. Shout outs to my amazing new Instagram connections who are watching these videos now, to my YouTube loyalists, to my Twitch buddies, and of course, to my Facebook people. And by the way, Facebook just happens to be the vehicle. So many of us together are fallout from You Can't Do That on Television and cosplay fan events. We have a whole separate universe of friendship and, oh my God, remember whens. And it's so wonderful to see you when you check in with me, when you have something to share. And it makes it so much more exciting to be doing these videos, knowing that you're there. So, once again, do we even know why we're doing what we're doing? Is it a knee jerk? Is it one of those, you go to the doctor and he has a little rubber hammer and you say, no matter what he does, I know what he's going to do. I'm not going to let my knee go like this. So he goes bonk and your knee goes like that because your knee says, and fine then. And so our intention did not translate to an outcome. Why not? What were we thinking? What were we missing? What was it a question of not enough facts? Was it a question of too much impulsiveness? Was it an unwillingness to see the signs in front of us? Was it any or all of those things? Did we get blindsided by something that came out of the blue, clear blue of the western sky? More and more, I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people who are not using the rudder. I'm seeing people who are not choosing a lane. I'm seeing people who are driving passively. And I don't mean passive as opposed to aggressive. I mean that they merge into traffic and stay there, not really engaged in the driving process. I saw somebody the other day so narrowly miss a car. And the thing is, the car was right there, bright red. So how did that all of a sudden at the last minute? Conscious brain goes, whoa, what was going on? What was going on was they weren't here. They weren't present. They weren't driving the car. They were riding in the car. The car was not even driving. It wasn't a self-driving magical vehicle. It was the product of momentum. You put your foot to the floor, you get fuel, the car goes vroom. As long as you're not going uphill, the car's going to keep going. And that's what people are doing. They're getting in step, and then they're not really thinking about it. It's like ants falling in line. We're all on our way somewhere, And the only ant who knows where we're going is the one in the front. The rest of us are just going along to get along, because we don't have to think, because we don't have to plan, because we don't have to look at or for our exit ramp. It's easier to do this. It's easier. Costs us less. And really, what's the difference? I mean, is there much of a difference? For somebody like me, well, absolutely, there's a difference. I don't leave my house if I don't have an intention and a place to go and a reason to go there. I'm very happy in my little home. I'm so happy. You know, I've been posting the last week or so the videos from 2023, pictures of what my situation was like, getting ready to pack, getting ready to move in the middle of an ice storm. And it was a bum's rush kind of thing. I didn't have any time. And, you know, I would have to stop and get in the car and so to charge my phone, because there was no heat or hydro or water, drive around and around, use a gas station to put gas in the car, use their bathroom, go to a restaurant, eat food, having charged the phone, go home, start packing again. And there was no one there beside me in those immediate first days. I had to do all of that if I wanted to be ready for the day the packers came for the big stuff and the movers the next day. And the outcome of doing that is I'm here, and it's 2 years later. And the outcome of making that commitment to the Delta guys and gals, it was 24 years. 24 years. Incredible. And 3 of us have birthdays in April. So there's always cake. One of us is on the 2nd, Carol's on the 8th, I'm on the 16th. It's birthday month. And it is such a validation that I showed up, and then I made the decision to keep showing up. I made the decision to keep bringing. Why? Because it's easier together. It's more fun together. It's more productive together. It's more creative together. It's more exciting together. It's more insightful together. How does that keep happening? How does that outcome keep happening? I keep showing up. They keep showing up. If people can't come, if people can't make it, it's stuff. It doesn't mean they don't love us anymore. It means stuff. But who we decided to be for each other, with each other, that's awesome. That's the essence of the dopamine cure. You know, I was stopped at a light before I got on the highway, and I thought, you know how people, they'll do these juice cleanses to clean out the system and get rid of the toxic stuff. I think getting together with you twice a week is my dopamine cleanse. I come into these videos excited to see what happens, because I hope you don't think I'm in charge here. I'm in, I'm ready, I'm not sure what's going to happen. But the outcome, holy lift, and the outcome is amazing. Cortisol doesn't have a chance in hell of overriding how I feel at the end of a video. And I sincerely hope that that's how you guys feel too. That you come away and say, I have no idea what that just was, and apparently we're going to do it again on Tuesday. So I've just marked it on my calendar because it means you belong to something. And the thing I want to talk about really about this, do we even know why we want what we want? It's great to be part of something. Would you rather be part of something that is cheering us on, encouraging, celebrating? or be part of something yelling, feeling the toxicity, being controlled by the rage. Rage is a cage. We get to choose that every day. I met somebody many, many years ago who said, "Why are you always so cheerful?" And I said, "Well, I looked at the other options." And I said, "Well, what's in it for me exactly?" Joy, on the other hand, is fabulous. And this person said, "It pisses me off to see you happy." And I said, "I'm very sorry to hear that. We have options here. I could become miserable like you, or one of us could go someplace else." And she said, "Well, I'm not moving." And I said, "Oh, well, okay. Problem solved. Check, please. I don't need to be here." I had no idea that I had accidentally walked into a production of Les Miserables. In a minute, they'll know I shouldn't be here when they hear me sing. Then if you thought you were miserable before. So, what is it that I'm sharing with you today that is going to make a difference? What is it that I am leading into and leaning into for the CEO, for the marketing person, for the coordinator of events? Coordinators of events are like people who try to herd fireflies. God bless you and keep you. If that is the path you chose, there's a great group name on LinkedIn called Links for Shrinks, and I thought that marketing person had a real moment. It's perfect. When we choose a path to care about others and help others recognize that this is a door, that's a window, and that's a bog, choose accordingly. We are investing a lot of our energy in their happiness and their outcomes. Your cousin's birthday is on the 14th, and your mom's anniversary is on the 13th. Yes, Freddie. Yes, I know it's a very full month. It is also the anniversary today of Vimy Ridge. Lots of important things happen in the month of April. It's the first month of the year. I know January is on the calendar, but April is the baby month. And where we are on this threshold, where we are looking at all the things swirling around us. And I know in the moment, it feels like this is more swirl than anybody ever asked for, except that if you scroll back, and we were, a bunch of us having conversations last night about all the things, and pretty much constantly there's swirl. If it's just personal, lost the job, relationship, family member or something, unhappy outcome, special restaurant, terrible food, whatever, however big or small, there is a lot of swirl. And in anticipation of swirl, because life is swirl, in anticipation of swirl, what we deserve as self-care, as preemptive self-care, is replacing the habit of helpless, rage, cage, replacing that habit of helpless with the opposite habit, which is I'm walking here. I'm walking here. We can all channel I'm walking here. We can all say, yeah, I know it's your lane. Give me a minute. I'm walking here. And I deserve my moment. And then it'll be your moment. Before me, it was that guy's moment. If we don't give ourselves that time and that care and that priority, our tank is half empty before we even leave the garage. If we don't eat something before we have a long day, we're exhausted before we even really get started. Preemptive self-care is the where to start before we start. So the title today, do we even know why we want what we want? The crazy thing is, most often in a really good conversation about this topic, we realize that we feel, we think we want this, but what we really want is a Band-Aid fix for that, whatever that is, whatever is over there that we can't reach. You know that spot in your back you can't reach, and you say, oh, just scratch right there. Oh. Do I need to make friends with a crazy-eyed person wielding a knife with blood dripping off it in order to say, could you just scratch my back there? Or could I maybe pick somebody else? That would be the Department of Unintended Outcomes if they decided to use the knife to scratch me with, right? If I want healing, if I want connection, if I want to feel that I'm walking the path with someone who not only gets it, who not only gets me, but they get themselves, then I have to clean my own house first. I have to be ready. I don't want to bring to the table collateral damage and add it to the mix. I want the moment of connection to be the moment of connection, 100%. The survey that Carol and I did for the play that I wrote, the play was about an absolute train wreck of a romantic idea that was based on a true story. And two former sweethearts from high school find each other on social media by accident, and they decide to reconnect. And there is so much baggage, and there are so many reasons not to. And they don't care. They want to give it a try. And predictably, it's not a happily ever after skipping off into the field of daisies and butterflies. It was an absolute train wreck in every way possible because they wouldn't open their eyes. They had, each of them separately and together, way too much collateral damage. And we close our eyes to those things. So for the CEO, for the decision maker, for the organizer, for the healer, for the person on whose shoulders so much rests, you have to put down the baggage. Store it. Don't let it go, but you have to put it down in order to pick up and safely carry this. It's not going to work if you pick up this to compensate for that. Because what you're doing is you're adding the burden of all that baggage to this hopeful little opportunity. On a scale of 1 to are you out of your mind? How do you think that's going to work? And then we're crushed. We're crushed because this didn't work. And then we're further crushed because we realized that it could have, if only. If only what? If only we weren't trying to do something extra. I'll do this, I say to myself, because of this. Is that really what I want? Is that really why I want it? And I know you're thinking, well, good for her. How the hell am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to know? And you're right. It's really difficult to know because it's invisible stuff. And it's been with us a long time. We don't even know we've got it. What's that? What's what? That thing you've got on your shoulder. What? Oh my God, I didn't even know that was here. Have you ever said that? Have you ever said it to someone? Have you ever heard people say it? That's the invisible baggage. You don't understand. I have a busy life. I have a family. I have everybody in the family has a crisis and priorities, and I'm juggling that, and I've got all these other responsibilities, and then I have my work. You just don't understand. Yeah, I do. You picked every single one of those things to be part of, to play a role in. And you told yourself at the time, it'll be fabulous. I have nothing to do on Thursday. This Thursday, I had a client once who wanted to start a scrapbooking business. And I said, tell me how that's going to work. Do you have an office? And she said, oh, no. You know what I really love about the whole scrapbooking idea is that I just picture this family table, the kitchen table, in the old days, kitchen table, and you just got everything there. And everybody's, pitching in. And I said, so it's kind of like a family project. And she said, well, no, it's not. I don't mean that. It's my project. Everybody, I'm really the only creative one in the family. Everybody else is some kind of nerd and engineer and, athlete. So it's basically me. How big is the family? Well, I have the 5 kids. And I said, wow. Any animals? Oh, gosh. Stupid. Yes, we have a lot of animals. We have the dogs and the cats and the birds, of course. And then, John came home the other day with a pig, one of the little. And I said, okay, who's John? Oh, John's my husband. And what does John do? Well, he used to be. And I said, used to? And she said, well, he got laid off. And I said, who does the cooking? And she said, well, me mostly. The kids are busy. And John's never really been much in the kitchen. And I said, so let me get this straight. You're prepared to invest your time and your money in a business that is a heart piece that you feel will benefit people so much because it's a lovely way to nostalgically collect and treasure and savor. And it's a beautiful idea. And your vision is to make it one of those old-fashioned, nostalgic, creative projects that takes place on the family kitchen table. And she said, yeah. And I said, and you have 5 kids, 7 animals, and an unemployed husband. And where will they be having supper? That, by the way, you have to stop and make. And she said, well, at the table. And I said, so where were you going to be putting your scrapbooking stuff? And she said, well, I can. And I said, I'll wait. And she said, well, I suppose I could do it in the dining room, but and I said, okay. How much do you want to do the scrapbooking business? She said, it means everything. I said, all right. So you can't disappear. You can't erase the reality of a family dynamic. You can't just make it go poof and disappear. You can't make a bunch of non-creative people who are busy suddenly care about your scrapbooking. They'll care because it's you. They won't care because it fascinates them. So it's not a love effort. It's not a team effort. This is a heart piece. And you're trying to weave one heart piece into the other heart pieces in this nostalgia family quilt. But there isn't a space for it there. So we need to come up with another way to have it. She said, you mean I can find another way? And I said, sure. You just can't have everything all at once in the beginning. You have to work toward it. So my analogy in telling you this is, how many hats are you wearing? That's interesting. When you have a chance, when you have a moment, ask yourself that question. How many hats am I wearing? I'm family, I'm neighbor, I'm friend. I like bowling and curling and golf, and I love to travel. And I collect stones, and I'm very fond of goldfish. And I run a small business. Those are your hats. Those are your hats. What happens to all the responsibilities that you eagerly take on in each of those roles when something goes wrong in any of them? And you have to make the difficult decision to prioritize. What do you do if someone in your family gets sick? And by the way, the scrapbook you're almost finished is for a huge celebration that is happening this week. but you have to be at the hospital. How do you juggle that? And that client said, I don't know. And I said, then that's a brilliant place to start. Because you're not now trying to begin with all the preconceived notions in place, irrevocable. It has to be this, it has to be that, I want it to be this. Now you're saying, how can I have it? And what do I have to move around in order to keep as many of the things that touch me as possible? And how can I stand my ground when someone says it never used to be like this? And how can I be willing to say, I love this and I'm going to let it go? These are all parts of the growing process. And I'm going to tell you something that people don't ever realize. How we choose to live our lives, what we choose to do to make a difference, to show up, to trade our creativity and our commitment and our engagement for a reciprocal reward. These are fluid choices. These are things that can either drive us in our bus or find a comfy seat and allow us to stay in charge. We get to make that choice every day. And the hardest thing of all is to say, why do I really want it? What do I want it for? What is it substituting? What am I running from? How much collateral damage am I bringing that will bring the whole thing crashing down? That's not an easy conversation to have alone. It's not an easy conversation to have in your notebook, in your later folder. It's a give and take conversation. And sometimes it's a difficult conversation to have with people who we really know. Sometimes it's easier to have with somebody who's objective, knowledgeable, not just some random person. Would you like my opinion? Let's ask the average person. Ricky Gervais, let's not ask the average person. Let's not say to somebody who says, I've always thought it would be wonderful to critique a book. Would you like me to critique yours? No. I actually learned how to do this. I'm not going to ask a random novice to tell me I'm doing it wrong or right. I need to have somebody smarter than me do that. And that's where we are. We are all the CEO of something. We are all the innovator of something. We are all a member of the Rebel Federation in some way, shape, or form. There's a chap I knew from Harvard who said, you know how to recognize and understand an entrepreneur? And I said, feeling a little vulnerable. How? And he said, you have to study the mind of a juvenile delinquent. I burst out laughing. And when I could talk, I said, you're not wrong. I may not act on my tendencies, but they're there. And so what we need, part of what I'm doing with this Pivotry in motion, part of what I'm doing with this, here, let me coach you. For instance, don't walk there. That's a cliff. Oops. I should have said that sooner. Part of what I'm trying to create for people is this, it's not a mastermind group. It's a mentor mind group. Not huge, but conversations that can be viable. Delta Group 2.0. What is Delta Group 2.0? It's a bunch of people saying, how was your week? Don't ask. But since you asked, allow me to tell you, I'm sorry I asked. It is a place to connect and compare with people who have been there, are there, will be again, whose vested interest in us is our vested interest in them. We need that. We don't have it. The time when generations of families lived down the street or on the other side of town or next door, where we could just sit for a minute with Auntie Sue and have a conversation with Uncle Jim and have Grandma say, "How many times have I told you?" And we say 437. We don't have that anymore. The people who grew up watching You Can't Do That on Television and the Care Bears, Teddy Ruxpin, for better or for worse, my contributions to popular culture and family entertainment in the 80s, those were latchkey kids. When they say to me, best days of my life, best times of my life, to come home and watch you and Les lie and identify with the kids and wish I could hang out with Christine or Kevin or Alistair, listen to Lisa ramble on, wonder what Doug was up to. They were latchkey kids. There wasn't anybody waiting for them at home. That's why they were watching us. We were their Delta group. We were their confidants. They could settle in and listen to us and laugh with us and feel that they were one of us anytime they wanted. And now it's on YouTube. So that means that, yes, you can continue to do that, but you can also see me looking like that forever till the end of time. Because, talk about the Department of Unintended Outcomes. So where we are today on this Thursday, and I have a very, very interesting and busy day and some exciting things coming as a result of what happens today that I can't wait to share next week. Every single one of us is juggling chainsaws. Some of us have set them on fire, or they have just self-combusted. All of us are dancing as fast as we can. I'm not suggesting be kind. I'm suggesting if for any time, any reason, anywhere, you feel unheard, unseen, unvalued, imagine how they feel. The ones in your circle. If you feel it, they feel it. You're not alone. How do we fix it? See, listen, care. If they know that you see them because you want to, if they know that you hear them because you want to, if they realize that they have value in your eyes, in your heart, because you care, not like Mother Teresa. That's not what's in it for you. What's in it for you is the degree to which you care about them, they care about you. Do I know what I want? Do I even know why I want it? Yeah, I can tell you what you want. I can tell you why you want it. It's never about the steak. It's always about the sizzle. We want to spend time with people who enrich us, who empower us, who give us wings. And the way we get to do that is bring that to them. If they don't reciprocate, they're the wrong person. If they can't reciprocate, it's the wrong time. There will be other people. There will be other times. We can't bring, we can't deliver, we can't make that contribution if we don't do some preemptive self-care first. If we don't come with a full tank, we're not going to make it to the end of the journey. We have to do that work. And sometimes it's hard to do it by ourselves. That's when we turn around to our Delta group and say, does any of you have a minute? I have a thing to discuss. And they always all say, sure. Or hang on, I just have to give me 60 seconds. They care because we care. Because we know with them, we're not alone. And that's why we want what we want. We want to feel like we matter. It should come from inside. But if we weren't taught how to do that, we have no idea. We don't have instructions. So we can begin by joining. Not by joining groups of people who point and yell, who feel safe in a cage full of rage. We don't grow and prosper in that dynamic. We grow and prosper when there's joy, when there's excitement, when there's commitment, when we're cheering each other on. You plant a seed in toxic soil, nothing good happens. You plant it in fertile ground, ta-da! So, do I have a hack that you can use? Yes, it can be the later folder. Yes, it can. It can be the later folder, but it can also be, and in the later folder, you can certainly use it. You don't need 10 people in your Delta group. I have 7. In my own personal private Delta group, I have 7. In my whole life, 7. And each part of that group, it's like a pie. And each piece of that pie, divided into 7, brought together, makes me whole. We all have them. What we have to do is learn how it works. Get the instruction booklet, written in the language you can read and understand, and discuss it with your Delta group so it's clear. So, Delta, change. Invincible. If he can be invincible, really? All right, I'm going to love you and leave you. Many exciting things today. I'm almost, like this a little bit, which is so amazing to have this video because it just brought me into this wonderful place of calm and joy and happy. So, the simple win: find your 6. Find your 6. You'll be the 7th. Find your 6. Make them know how much you care. It's ageless. It's dynamic. It's fluid. It's resilience in its best form. Lean in, listen, give, and by all means, laugh. Allow the dopamine to override, delete, boot to the curb the cortisol rage. Give yourself permission. If you're not ready to step out of the cage, leave the door open. Take baby steps. Okay. Have a great rest of the week. I will be back on Tuesday. Tuesday will be the day before birthday, and I won't be talking about it at all. ad nauseum. Be good to you. You deserve it. Preemptive self-care. Delta group. Be invincible. Remember to hug your loved ones. They deserve it too. And I will catch you next time.